Nation. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Thank you so much for watching the show and the channel. Your nationwide lending expert. Coming to you live, talk with Angelo. Every week we do our live show, so I hope everyone's doing well out there. Got a lot of interesting stuff that we want to talk about tonight. So normally we do the show on Thursday, but I was out of town for work. So back tonight, Friday night. Getting ready for the weekend. You know, we're open. Hey, Kevin, good evening. Thank you so much for watching. We're open every day. So tonight we got a Monte Cristo Edmundo, and this is a Whistle Pig rye old fashioned. It's called an Old Pig. One of my favorite. One of my favorite old fashions. You actually make it with maple bitters and maple syrup. So it's really, really nice. Goes good with a nice cigar. But anyway, I know I always talk about cigars and whiskey and all that stuff. It's one of my favorite things along with food. I used to be a chef, so I still think about all that stuff all the time. So I hope everyone's doing well out there. Kind of interesting, the Federal Reserve's raising rates. Rates are kind of going down, kind of the opposite of what you think would be happening. So that's how it works. It's not always 100% correlation with what happens with what the Federal Reserve does. So just because the Federal Reserve raises rates doesn't mean they're going to go up. So anyway, I hope you guys have been watching the show, getting good value. We've released a lot of great content in the last month, working real hard to get you guys the information, the updated intel about what's going on in the market. You know, the market seems like, you know, home prices, according to Wall Street, according to MSN, are going up. Even though rates are higher, it seems like there's still a lot of buyers out there. So there's still a lot of opportunity for people that are looking to either purchase a house, build a house. We love doing construction loans, you know, so a lot of lenders don't like doing them. We really enjoy doing, you know, we can do single family, you know, primary residence or secondary home. So it's a great product. So anyway, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask any questions that you have. I got some stuff I want to talk about tonight. I got a list of a few things. You know, I'll bring that up tonight. I mean, like I said, we have a lot of great content that we have coming out on the show. A few things I want to talk about tonight, just some basic fundamental stuff. Talking about closing costs. What are closing costs? What's a loan origination fee? In case you guys don't know, a lot of people, you know, when they're getting into real estate, whether they're trying to buy their primary home or investment property, they really, all this stuff is Greek to them. They have no idea what these things are. You just got to be careful because, you know, you want to deal with someone that you can trust, someone that knows what's going on, that knows the lingo, that will walk you through it, an expert, an insider, such as myself, that can be on your side and help you. You know, to make sure that you're getting the best deal, because there's a lot of different lenders out there. There's a lot of different programs, and you just gotta, you know, work with people that you trust, that you like, that you feel good about. Don't work with someone just because they have the best deal if you don't feel good about them. I'll never do that, you know. Then we're going to talk about some areas that right now that are very overpriced, that investors are staying away from. How to buy a foreclosure. That's a hot topic right now, how to buy a foreclosure. So we can start with, you know, what you've seen in the last few years is these pockets have been created where you have some markets that are really underpriced and some of them that are really overvalued and overbought, and some that are still fairly in line. So kind of one of the things that we talked about in the last year is that Tennessee has been a state that's been on fire, so much so that property prices have kind of gotten out of whack in Tennessee and gone, you know, too far too fast. So it's actually on the list right now of one of the most overpriced markets. Also, Florida. Florida's got a lot. I love Tampa. I think it's a great area, but it's on that list now of some of the most overpriced areas in the United States. There's a lot of places in Florida, Palm Bay, Daytona, that have just, the prices have gotten just so exasperated, and it's caused things to kind of get overbought. Does that mean you shouldn't buy there? I don't think it means you shouldn't buy there. It just means you need to be mindful and wary, because what you don't want to do is certainly overpay and then get stuck in something, and then have some type of buyer's remorse, or be upside down. I think that's the biggest concern. Another one that was kind of surprising on the list, at least I thought, was Atlanta. Atlanta's been, probably in the last 5 years, like one of the top sought after places to move to, because you got great economics, fairly priced real estate. It's not overpriced, and you have good property tax rates there, and great, great schools, great medical. So it made a lot of sense to think about Atlanta, but now it's become one of those areas that seems to be too overpriced, right? So, and again, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy there, or it doesn't make sense not to buy there. It just means that right now that area seems to be too hot, and you let it cool down, or just try to be careful and try to find good deals. Because you certainly, like, for example, if let's say the property is worth $400,000, you don't want to pay $450 for it and then be upside down, because you're not going to be able to either refinance or sell it, because you're going to have negative equity, and you don't want to have that happen to you. So be on the lookout for that. Now, flipping to the other side is that if you find a foreclosure, foreclosures can be a great deal, and we lend on foreclosures if you know how to spot them correctly. And I'm not talking about buying them from the auction. I'm talking about buying them through banks or REO approved brokers that have those listings. And a lot of those foreclosures can have a lot of equity. They usually also have a lot of problems too. I'll give you an example. One of my good friends, who's a real estate investor, he targets bank foreclosures, and he found one here in Houston for like $520,000 was the purchase price, and he needed $200,000 of rehab, and the property was worth like $1 million, $1.2 million. But when he went and got to the property, he saw that it needed a lot more rehab. The people that live in there just completely destroyed it. They had apparently like 16 dogs and cats, and they messed up that house so bad that the rehab was more than $200,000. It was like almost $300,000. So it kind of ate into his protective equity to where the deal didn't really make that much sense anymore. So I'm not saying that it was a bad idea or that he shouldn't have done it, but usually investors want to have 20 to 30% minimum protective equity off the ARV before they get involved in a deal, just so they have some exit strategy to get out of it. Okay, so foreclosures are good, but the location's key. The protective equity is very important. You got to make sure you know what you're doing, and your crew that you're working with definitely has to know what they're doing. You can't just go over there and eyeball a bid for rehab and think that you got it right. Okay, like my buddy's been doing it for 20 years and he was still off by $100,000. So you got to walk the property, and you got to make sure that whoever's doing that rehab work is very, very good at what they're doing. Because if you're off by 10 or 20%, I mean, it could wipe you out. And it just, conversely, if you're good at what you're doing and you work with a professional, then you can make a lot of money. And there's a lot of flippers that do very well. So it just depends, right? We do fix and flip. We love it, and we think it's a great opportunity. It's a great program. So we're not against it in any way. We're a big advocate of it, and I'm just saying some of the tips and pointers so you are successful, so you don't get screwed, so you don't become upside down. I can't tell you how many calls we get every week from investors that lost their shirt because they saw a video on TV about some guy making a lot of money flipping properties, and it just doesn't work like that. Okay, you got to work with someone that can guide you, a mentor, and shadow them to become an expert. Right? You got to shadow with somebody that's an expert. Even if you got to pay for it, that's okay. You got to pay for your education. So, now, let's move into some closing cost acronyms, some things that can help you guys. We get this call every day about what is origination fee, what's closing costs, what are season funds. So if you think about seasoning, like you're seasoning your food, marinating your food, it means that obviously if you cook, that means it has to sit there for a while and penetrate, marinate. And so that's what season funds mean. When you go to buy a property, not every loan program requires this, but 80% of them do. You have to have seasoned money in the bank account. Okay? So what does that mean? That means that money's got to be sitting there for at least 30 days. If you have to bring $50,000 to closing and the bank statement you gave the underwriter shows $1, and all of a sudden there's a deposit of 50 grand the day before closing, that's not going to work. That's a red flag, because they're going to want to know, where did that money come from? Right? And you have to source it. But when the money sees in your account for at least a month, then they don't question it, they don't source it. Right? So if you're thinking about buying real estate, let that money sit in your account before you apply for the loan. Okay? I can't tell you how many people that they get involved in transactions and they do it ass backwards, where they don't have all their stuff ready and they're scrambling to figure out how to close, and they're not prepared. It's like people that cook food and they don't do all the prep work first. They don't chop the onions, they don't mince the garlic. They do it while the stuff's burning on the pan. And you can't do that. You have to have all the stuff ready in advance, and then it's smooth sailing, right? So that's an important thing. You got to be prepared. You got to have that seasoned money in your bank account. It's very important. So that way, you don't risk losing the property, risk losing the earnest money. Hey, Britt, do you require? No, we don't require 6 months withdrawn. If the property, it depends on the deal. So it depends, Britt. There's so many different loan programs. It just depends on which one we're doing. But generally, no, you don't have to have the house off the market for 6 months before you get a loan. Now, the house does have to be off the market definitely before you apply for the loan. The house cannot be on the market and you're applying for the loan. Okay, that's a no-no. But usually, if you take it off the market, do it definitely, ideally as much as you can time-wise before you apply. But there's not a waiting period per se on most programs. Now, some programs there are. So it just depends. And that's like when we talk to you, we do the consultation, we can do a deep dive in your situation and come up with a structure to help you out. Because you remember, everything's kind of relative to your situation, the type of program that you're doing. Like, hard money is much different than conventional. For example, hard money, they don't care what you listed it for, what you did. But conventional is going to care more about that. Commercial loans, not so much. Okay? Now, where you will come into an issue, I will say this, on listings, if you listed the property for much less than what you think it's worth, that could be an issue, because then they're going to be like, well, you listed it for $700,000, but you told us it's worth $1 million. That doesn't look good. So, they want to make sure that, everything's making sense. And they will look it up. They go and look that stuff up to find out if you did list the property. The underwriter, that's their job, to check that stuff. Okay? Anyway, it's a good question, but again, And it's all going to come down to, your situation, what you're doing. We got to get more details to figure it out. So, having said that, talking about fees and closing costs, origination fee, and discount points, a lot of people don't know what this is, and that's okay. That's why we're here, to give you that information. So the way lenders make money is off of the interest rate and fees, lender fees, points, origination, but they're not all the same. Like, for example, a point, when someone says that you're going to get charged a point, that's not really a lender's commission. That's to buy down the interest rate on the loan. Okay? So if the qualifying rate, for example, is 7%, and you say, well, I don't want 7%, what can you, how much does it cost to get to 6.5? So to go from 7 to 6.5, you have to pay a point or a few points to get there. Okay? Now, I'm not going to get into how many points it is, because it's all relative to your situation and many, many things, but just a general idea about what points are. Okay? Points are to buy down the rate. It's also a prepaid interest, which is a tax write-off. You can write it off on your taxes, but it's not a loan officer's commission. Okay? So it's not a loan officer's commission. Now, origination, which is different than points, is a fee that you pay to the lender to make the loan. Usually you pay 1% origination, sometimes more. More complicated loans, you can pay 2 or 3% origination. But that's, how lenders make money. It's not a bad thing. It's like if you go to the restaurant and you pay $200 for a bottle of wine. That's what you got to pay. The bottle costs at the grocery store $60, but they mark it up by 300%. That's how it works. Hey Chris, hey Marco, how you doing, man? Thank you for watching. So, that's just how that's how it works and everywhere, right? You go to get a drink at the bar, it's $25. It costs you $1 to make it your house. That's how businesses make money. That's what they do. Okay, so you got to pay a lender to originate the loan for you, and to give you the service. They got to pay for their family, their bills, all their stuff, and that's why they're there. So it's not a bad thing. And again, depending on the product that you're doing, you can pay more or less. So, but those are origination fees, and they are generally on every loan that you'll ever see. There's some type of processing fee, underwriting fee, origination fee, that they're there. Okay, and that's how people stay in business and pay for the underwriters, pay for the processors. But they're not bad. They're just part of doing business. Those if you're doing a refinance, they're rolled into your loan. You don't pay them out of pocket. If you're purchasing, you could either pay them out of pocket or get them financed in, or have the seller pay them. It just depends on what's going on. So, but I want to give you guys that information, so then that way you guys are aware about what these different things are. So that way when you're looking at it, you're not kind of confused. You say, hey, what is this? What's that? And okay, on the loan estimate, these are these charges, and it's okay. It's part of the process. So. So, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. No problem, ask me anything. We talked about foreclosures. We talked about some of the highest priced areas. We talked about closing costs, season funds. I think, it's going to be a good time next year to be in real estate, buy rental properties. You're seeing a lot of investors right now that are scooping up, short-term rentals, long-term rentals. It's a great time. If you find a great deal, buy as many as you can. With our programs, we have our non-QM loan, our private non-QM loans. You can get as many rental properties as you want. So, and that's the whole idea, is create that cash flow, that mailbox money. So when you get older, you can take it easy. Relax. You don't have to hustle all the time. But if you can get a few hundred properties, that can help you to make some good cash flow, residual income. That's the goal, right? And with the investor program, you can buy anywhere. We lend nationwide. You can buy them, New York, New Jersey, Florida, Texas. We talked about, how many times the hottest markets in America right now, for investing. Oklahoma's on the list. Ohio's on the list, Tennessee's on the list, Alabama, Florida. But if you're getting started, maybe just start in your backyard, kind of get it going. But later on, I mean, you can get a management team, hire property management to help you get into multifamily. Multifamily is big time too. Remember that game Monopoly? You had the little houses and you had the hotels and the apartment complexes. And the apartment complex and the hotels where you made all the money. And that's really true in real life too. You'll make more money on those deals than the single family. But it's a stair stepper. You got to gradually get there. We can help you with either one, whether it's single family or multifamily. The cool thing about single family is that it goes up to 4 units, so you can get single family loans up to 4 units. As soon as you get into 5 units or higher, it's multifamily, and that's not a bad thing. It just means it's a commercial loan, which is not a problem. But those are also very, very good for creating rental income. And sometimes, if you want to buy a very big property that's like several hundred units, you can do a partnership or a syndication with many people to buy that property. Let's say we had one that was like 11 million in Orlando. It was with 4 investors that bought it. So sometimes you'll see deals like that, and maybe you don't have all the money, but you put 4 people together or 5 people, and then you can buy that property and form a new LLC or a new entity to be able to purchase that property. So that's also very good. So anyway, I appreciate all of you guys watching the show and the channel. I hope you get good value out of it. Call or text us anytime, 832-431-6331. We're certainly looking forward to helping you, adding value, educating you, empowering you to give you the information, the knowledge. Remember, we're open 7 days a week for you. Call or text our office anytime. Again, 832-431-6331. Really appreciate all of you guys watching the show and the channel. Check out the YouTube, Angelo Christian, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. If we can help you, reach out to us. We're here. We'll see you guys next week. Take care. Peace out. Enjoy your weekend. Be strong.